So we have a presentation on Tri-County Juvenile Hall, and Perminder is going to be presenting that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Perminder Baines. I'm with Administrative Services. We'll be presenting a project update for the Tri-County Juvenile Rehabilitation Facility. I know we've been waiting for a long time for this project to actually start construction. We're almost there. There has been a lot of work that has been put into this project, years and years of planning and pushing paper to get it to where it is now. This is a regional project. We have Yuba-Sutter and Colusa counties involved in this project. And we also have Banner Construction there, a management firm that is our consultant that has been involved in this process, and they'll be guiding us through this process also. I was hoping that we'd have this in-person board meeting, but due to circumstances, we're not able to. I actually wanted to present the whole design build team to the board. Since it's a Zoom meeting, we just have one member of Clark and Sullivan, Ted Ford, and we'll be presenting this project together. I do want to say that the DBE team that we have selected, they're great to work with. They're very knowledgeable, and I'm glad that they're part of our team. They want to get started with this project just as like we do. So everybody's eager. Ted, are you on?
Yeah.
Can you give background?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You ready for me?
Let's get started.
All right. Well, good morning. My name is Ted Ford with Clark Sullivan Broward Builders. As Perminder said, we're very excited to get started. I think we first proposed on this project and it was either 2014 or 2015, and then it got put on hold for a while, and then we came back again and started looking at it again in 2019 and 2020. So we're super excited to have been selected, and you know, right in the middle of the still in the design process, but we're getting real close to starting construction. So our entire team is super excited. A little bit about CS Broward. We are a joint venture. We have offices in Woodland, and I'm in Roseville. We have been doing projects together since about 2000. We've done over $350 million in similar projects. We've done Sac County Juvenile, Yolo County Juvenile Facility, which the entire team toured not too long ago to get some ideas. We also recently completed a $50 million design build project for El Dorado County for Sheriff DeAugustini out there, the criminal justice facility for El Dorado County. Recently completed some CHP projects together. And it's all with the same team of designers and engineers that we have on this Tri-County Juvenile Rehabilitation Facility. So Arrington Watkins is our architect design partner. All they do is criminal justice facilities. So they go around the entire country doing very similar projects, and the entire design team, that's basically what they do. So yeah, I think that's a little bit about us. So we can get onto the project if you want, Perminder. So kind of to orient you, here's a site plan. So to the north, right, that's 14th Street, and across the street to the north is the existing juvenile facility. And so we are just to the south of 14th Street. It's approximately a 3-acre site. The perimeter is about 3 acres. The building itself is about 17,378 square feet. To the south of the building, those are the fenced rec yards with surrounded by chain link, no climb, 12-foot high candy cane fencing around the perimeter. And then we also have I don't know, for those of you that are kind of familiar with the site, on the right side where you see the road and you see the little trash enclosure, that's where that kind of, there's that existing small pavement road that's out there now. It generally runs right along that road there. Yeah, where Perminder is showing. That's, so just to kind of orient you, that's where that existing kind of old pavement is right now. And then we have the fire access road, the hammerhead on the south side of the site. In an emergency, the fire trucks could turn around there. There's fire hydrants on the south side and the north side. And on the left side of the page where you see that little electrical yard, there's the main switch gear and electrical services there, along with a generator that will supply power to the building in the event of a power outage. Utilities are mainly connecting, storm, sewer, and water all connecting on 14th Street, kind of going up to the north. And then the sewer is off to the east side. Yeah, right in there is for the sewer connection. I think that's it for the site, unless I missed something from there.
Yeah, just the public access is coming to the front. This is where the public will be parking. Staff will be parking off to the side. We ran out of funds and weren't able to get this staff parking completed. But this is where they'll be parking.
Here's a kind of a simplified floor plan, just showing kind of the different colors or different kind of major areas or departments. So in the yellow, when you come in, the public access to the front door, that's really the administration, the lobby space right there. And then just kind of all of the administrative and public spaces. Out in the front, right in the middle, is the visiting room there, that big square in the middle. Off the green is all of the processing. So just outside there is where you have this secured parking, right? Yeah, out in that area that would be a fenced with a gate where they could bring people in, intake and processing. There's some holding rooms right there. A couple holding rooms in the processing area. There's some interview rooms, and over there, and laundries also just to the south. Yeah, there. So that's the processing area, and then the blue is all of the housing and program spaces. We still have there's 32 beds, so 16 beds on each side. And there is program spaces, the large space, yep, that's the kind of training and classroom area for each housing unit. The control room is smack in the middle, where the central control will be. There's also a control, basically, desk inside each housing unit. But the building is very durable building. It's all built out of CMU block. It's 12-inch block on the exterior, insulated block. It's very efficient, durable building that's going to last a lifetime. 8-inch walls on the interior, 8-inch block walls on the interior, 12-inch on the exterior. So it's a very durable structural steel beams and metal deck for the roof. So very efficient, very durable facility.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we're actually originally had 3 pods proposed. We got 1, 2, and the third one was going to be here, but we ran out of funds, so we had to delete this. But in the future, if we ever have to add on, we still have space to do that here.
Yeah. So just wanted to show you a few pictures of some of the renderings, the elevations. So you can kind of see better on the next one, but so this is kind of, looking from north to south, southwest, kind of. That's that secure parking, that chain link that you see in the front. That's the secure park, or where you bring in and then you come into processing and intake and processing in there. The public is right on the front. That's 14th Street, kind of in the foreground. And then the rec yards in the back. There is, rooftop mechanical units that you don't see in this picture right here. There are skylights on each side in the day rooms in each housing unit. And yeah, I think that's it there. You kind of get a better sense here. We've already chosen the color, so it's a precision-faced block. Very nice color palette that the architects have chosen. We have a little canopy out on the front, a little wing wall on the end to try to add some flair and little dimension and depth to the building. And we have parapets that go up over the ceiling height for safety and maintenance purposes. Sorry, Perminder, you go back. Sorry. We do have, there are windows in all of the, in every single youth sleeping room, there are exterior windows. I just wanted to point that out. That was one of the changes that occurred. Another part that was very big for our team during the proposal phase and throughout the design has been just creating a rehabilitative environment. We realize that these are youths that are going to be housed in this facility. And so we've tried really hard to create these 3 zones: an activity zone, a living zone, and a dining room zone. There won't be walls in there, but we're going to use furniture to separate those areas. We've designed all of the utilities and infrastructure and building around there to kind of accommodate the flooring patterns. We also added a ceiling in there, so that there's an acoustical ceiling in there. We wanted to soften the room and create some really good acoustics in the room. If we just would have left it, exposed to structure, it would have just felt more institutional. It would have been very loud. So we've added acoustical ceilings to try to soften and create just a better atmosphere for the youth. We're getting very close to mobilizing. So once we do, this is kind of what it's going to look like a little bit. So the red with the little squares, that's our 6-foot high temporary fencing. There we have 2 construction entrances off of 14th Street. And then you can see on the left side there, that green rectangle, that will be where our office space, or we'll have our construction trailer set up there. That's where our superintendent and project manager and engineers will be on a daily basis, making sure the project's running smoothly. And then we have our dumpsters and some storage containers off to the right side there. I should have mentioned one thing I didn't mention in the beginning when I was looking at the site plan. We do have 2 detention ponds. Right there is kind of the main one, and then the first one, everything flows downhill to that corner, and then it finally connects to the storm drain system underground there in a pipe. But those first 2 will be kind of open detention ponds. They'll all be grasses and sands in there for detention purposes, but eventually it'll be piped underground in that far corner.
Yeah, and here you can see the existing access road. This is the dash line for the existing. That's going to be removed, and the new road, access road, is going to tie in this way.
Yeah, we're trying to keep all of those trees. You see all of the trees closer to the railroad tracks. There's all that road trees. We're keeping all of those. And then there's also a row of trees, yeah, right there, Perminder. Right, yeah, right next to the access road, kind of coming straight down perpendicular. Yeah, there. We're keeping all of those also. So,
Yeah, and this is the sewer connection here. City of Marysville sewer cuts across our property. We're going to be tying in here.
yeah. And the water's out on East 14th. Yep, right there's water. And then the storm drain is in that far corner off to the right. There you go. Okay, so here's a few kind of high-level schedule milestones. So our notice to proceed was issued on September 18th, 2020. We have been going through the design process since that time. We have, we're getting very close. We've broken the project. I don't have it on here, but we've broken the project for permitting purposes up into 2 increments. We have a site increment, which is basically the grading and underground utilities. And then we have a building package, which is everything else. And we did that just for scheduling purposes so that we could get started a little faster and get done faster. I think we're still talking about a groundbreaking ceremony. I don't think that's been tied down yet, but we're proposing February 11th here in a couple weeks. And then hopefully we can start construction on February 16th, 2021. Substantial completion would be May 6th of 22, with final completion July 1, 2022. And then staffing and occupancy is complete by September 23rd, 2022.
And the groundbreaking ceremony is just a proposed date. It's going to be up to the board to determine if February 11th is a good date. The contractor wants to start February 16th, but this is all weather dependent. And February 15th is a holiday. So we were thinking February 12th, people may take time off to have a 4-day weekend. So this would be February 11th, which is a Thursday. And this, like I said, isn't set in stone. And it would be up to the board to decide. I also want to thank the board for all their support with this project. It really does mean a lot. I also want to thank all the departments that have been helping with this project. Most of the departments here in the Government Center have been participating and pushing the project to where it is now. And some of them are going to be continuing to help for project completion. I know this is a county project and there's a lot of people involved. And I really appreciate everybody's willingness to help. And I'm glad to be a part of this team. And I want to thank even the probation team. I mean, they've been involved since the beginning of this project, and they've been putting a lot of time into this project. I'm confident that this project is going to be successful because of our team, Yuba-Sutter, Colusa counties, the DVE team that we selected, and Banner. I really want to thank everyone. If there's any questions, please ask.
To the chair. Reminder, you're also going to use some of the facilities in the existing juvenile hall. Can you give me an idea of which ones?
Well, we know that the kitchen is going to be used. The kitchen where they're going to be making the food and they're going to be bringing it across. If you look here at the servery, this is just to move the food from the servery, from the kitchen to the servery to disperse it to the housing units. We still have the shoe on the north end for the high security youth. And then we have Camp Singer that's still up north, where currently they're doing a lot of the laundry and whatnot. Most of our admin is still up on the north side, There's one admin office, and there's a couple stations here that's going to be used by admin. The majority of the admin is still going to be in the administration building up north. So that's why this is part of the campus. It's all tied together. They're going to be working together, and just picking up this facility and moving it somewhere else is going to be very difficult and very costly.
Reminder, I think it's 8 counties are using our juvenile facilities at this point in time. Is that correct? Somewhere within that 8, 7?
I believe so. I'm not exactly sure how many counties, but I do know this is a regional project, and the state's thrilled that we're doing a regional project that's benefiting the communities here.
Let me ask you, how many tri-county juvenile halls are there in the state of California?
None that want us.
And how many administrators have link damaged hair because of this project?
Many.
Many. Well, I would like to thank Jan, who's the young lady who makes us all gel during the committees that I've been on for years and years and years, and everybody involved, because this is the completion of a dream that was started years ago, and it's just it's hard to imagine 3 counties that agree that that's up. And thank you very much for everything you've done, and thank everybody involved.
Thank you.
Any
Through the
additional?
chair.
Yes.
Ted, without going into technical detail, given the COVID-19 airflow, movement of air in a facility like this, has that been taken into consideration when you built the air conditioning and airflow in the system?
That's a good question. Ted, can you answer that?
I don't, I think I would need, I'd rather talk to our mechanical engineers before I tried.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Just a thought, and I think it makes perfect sense given what's happened over the last year in a confined area that we consider that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a note of that and report back.
Great, thank you. Also, a great project. I'll support Andy. I absolutely agree. A lot of work, a lot of frustration. We're coming close. You can almost see it. I can see a picture. There it is. So good for you. Appreciate that.
We'll find out whether this is a false hope stage.
Any other comments or questions from board members?
I have a brief question. What would you say would be the average length of stay in the facility? Does anybody know that?
That's a good question for probation. They'd be able to answer that. I can't. They deal with the operational portion of this facility, but I think it depends on the situation for each unit.
So they feel capacity is not an issue?
I know originally they wanted it bigger, but financially we could not do that.
And this may seem like an obvious question, but this is not co-ed. It's just boys.
Well, the way it was designed, it was for females and males, but depending on how many are being housed, it may be majority of one.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I had at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim from probation on, I think I may have seen him. He might, if he is, he might be able to answer the question about length of stay.
Yes, Chair, this is Chief Jim Arnold. It would vary the length of stay. Unfortunately, with the legislative change of the Department of Juvenile Justice, drafting a plan on exactly length of stay in all of our facilities is still in the process. But normally, predisposition buildings are anywhere from 30 to 90 days. What I would encourage, if Mr. Blazer has questions in relation to the whole campus and how it's going to work, I'll be more than happy to meet with him and kind of go over everything, what our vision is, what we're anticipating. It is a co-ed facility, but at the same time, we actually have a female dorm on the other side as well, north of the building. And so we could probably spend hours talking about this. So anytime, Mr. Blazer, you want to meet with me, I'll be more than happy to go over all this stuff.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I may actually go to the site. It's easier for me. So we'll figure it out.
Outstanding.
Through the chair, Jim, while you're up, how many facilities like Camp Singer are there in the state?
Well, north, there's only one. I believe Shasta County still runs a camp type facility. And us, south of us, there's a couple in the Central Valley. And then there's obviously much more deep south in the LA and San Diego area. But we're pretty unique when it comes to the northern part of the county. And to answer previous questions, I believe we're at 13 counties that contract with us for our camp facility now.
Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's been involved in this project over the years. I know it's been a lot of people, so it's great to see it getting to this point. So with that, we will move on to public communications. Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communications shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card. Of course, that's virtually in this case, and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. Note, no board action can be taken on comments made during this hearing. I know we have at least one person that wishes to speak this morning, maybe more. So just a reminder to use the Zoom raise hand feature if you wish to speak during this time.
Through the chair, I believe we had a Liz that wanted to speak, and we've tried to look for her, cannot locate her. So Liz, if you are there, please raise your hand. I noticed we do have Greg Forrest also.
Yes, we can go ahead and Greg, you can go ahead and speak.
Thank you, Member Bradford and Chair. Members of the board, my name is Greg Forrest. I'm coming to you today as a member of the Wheatland Union High School District Board. And I believe our superintendent, Nicole Newman, also would like to speak to you about the vaccine distribution issue. I hope that you all are aware of this. It's really creating quite a crisis for our district. I decided to run for the board over the summer because I have a teenage daughter myself. I'm obviously very concerned about her future, but I'm also concerned about the future of all of our students. And I'm sure you are as well, because you know that the future of Yuba County resides with our educational system. And right now, we've got students that are in severe crisis because they aren't able to go to school. And they're experiencing a lot of learning loss. They're really going backward a lot of the time in their education, and they're missing credits, and it's been a serious problem. Before this, students were already in crisis. They already were experiencing a lot of social isolation, depression, anxiety, and trauma, and this whole pandemic has only made that worse. We need to get them back in school so they can be together again and to have that social interaction. Parents are telling us this at every board meeting. They're absolutely adamant that they need their kids back in school as soon as possible. In fact, we've already had parents come to us and say they're going to move their kids out of Yuba County to go to another school district to enroll their students. So the problem is we can't bring kids back to school if we don't have teachers. And right now, teachers are very afraid to come to school because they haven't been vaccinated. And so I'm imploring you today to please help us with that. We have the capacity to vaccinate our teachers, but we don't have the vaccines. So we need to have the vaccines to be able to do that. I'm asking you to please find a way to balance these needs. I understand that we have a need to also vaccinate persons that are 65 and over, but we have frontline workers who don't have a choice about it. They can't just stay home. And so we really are asking for your help today to the extent that you can. Work with your public health officer to find us a way to get some vaccines, maybe even if it's just for teachers that are the most at risk, that have the underlying conditions. We'd be doing a huge service for our district and for other districts in your county.
Thank you, Mr. Forrest. I see that Ms. Newman also has her hand up. So you may go ahead, Ms. Newman.
Good morning. How is everyone? Yuba County Supervisors Vasquez, Blasser, Pure, Bradford, and Fletcher, thank you for letting me speak for just a couple of minutes this morning. I have a letter that I've already submitted to everyone. It's on behalf of Sutter and Yuba County school districts and LEAs listed. In this letter that I will read, Yuba College, the 4,385 students served in Yuba County and the 6,405 students served in Sutter County, and the 6,700 students from our communities that Yuba College serves. We are respectfully requesting our local county board of supervisors intervention in the Yuba and Sutter Public Health COVID-19 vaccine schedule to ensure compliance with the state of California posted under California's vaccine plan. The majority of school districts in both counties, Yuba and Sutter, have returned to in-person and on-campus instruction or will be returning to in-person instruction on campus in early February 2021. Specifically, the state California website, the California for All vaccine, was updated on the 22nd of this month, and it lists the 2 bullets under Phase 1B, 1B Tier 1. And this document is referenced in the letter that I've already submitted to you. We respectfully ask that all groups in Phase 1B, 1B Tier 1, individuals 65 years and older, and those who are at risk of exposure at work, be given immediate access and choice to receive the vaccine concurrently under 1B Tier 1. Neighboring counties, including Butte County and Nevada County, are vaccinating their at-risk sectors, including educators, even holding vaccination clinics to facilitate the systemic distribution to the most at-risk individuals. Nevada County tomorrow will vaccinate 1,300 educators working in collaboration with the county health officer and the county superintendent of schools. And this is referenced in the paper, The Union, dated January 22nd, 2021. The children of Sutter and Yuba counties are counting on the adults in our community to support their mental health, their physical and emotional health. Ensuring frontline educators' health is paramount to on-campus instruction and schools reopening across our region. We need to work together in supporting each family's choice by supporting access to vaccines for all educators who are at risk of exposure as they do this critical work educating our youth. And it's respectfully submitted by Dr. Tawny Dotson, Yuba College President, Dr. Karen Villalobos, Twin Rivers Charter School Superintendent, her board, Mike Poston, John Jelovich, Sam Gawicki, Zach Milner, Inga Carlsjoy, Nicole Newman, Wheatland Union High School District Superintendent and her board, Tony Lopez, Shondell Meter, Patty Eagles, Greg Forrest, Craig Gensler, Wheatland Elementary School District Superintendent, Nicole Crabb, Wheatland Elementary School District Board President, Jeff Roberts, Plumas Lake Elementary School District President, and his Board President, David Villanueva, Dr. Val Dillon, Nuestro School District Superintendent, and her Board President, Debbie Everett, Bill Hanold, Faith Christian School Superintendent, Lance Halliday, Faith Christian School Administrator, Heidi Ramey, Paragon Collegiate Academy Superintendent, Chris Mahurin, Core Charter School Executive Director, Laura Gonzalez, Yuba County SELPA Director, Patrick Brose, Hamptonville School District Superintendent, Ryan Robison, Sutter Union High School District Superintendent, Cynthia Rachel, South Sutter Charter Director, Stacy Kalin, Britton School District Superintendent, and her Board President, Joe Lemonager, and Mark Beebe, East Nicholas High School District Superintendent. I'd also, on behalf of just myself and the board, I'd just like to make a couple of more comments, please. 3 weeks ago, we met with Dr. Liu, and we were planning on vaccinating all of our educators in our bi-county area. And this was the direction from the governor, and she was following his direction. On January 16th, we would be helping out on campus vaccination clinics run by our school staff. Several of us were vaccinated on that day. On January 19th, the school district superintendents received devastating news from Dr. Liu. The guidance had changed, and it was her duty to follow the guidance and begin vaccinating only 65 plus, even though she did understand why we felt the way we did. But there was nothing that she could do. She had to follow the guidance. Then yesterday, the governor said in his news conference that, quote, educators have equal priority alongside seniors 65 and over to receive the vaccine. When we met with her yesterday at 2 o'clock, she told us that she would not be following the direction given from the governor's office and that educators would not be given equal priority and will still be pushed to the back of the line because it is her, quote, moral imperative to take care of the 65 plus year olds first. I do not disagree with her. However, I do not understand how she can make choices to follow the governor's guidance one day and then decide that she isn't going to follow it the next. How do we explain this to our community and our educators that now they can run, quote, alongside 65 plus year olds? But no, wait, you can't because Yuba-Sutter County is not going to do that. There's many districts in the state that have already been vaccinated. This is a terrible precedent to take. We're one of the poorest counties in the state, 20.8% below the poverty level, and the inequities in education are going to be astounding in the coming years. Our students need to be back in school. Not only do we need to be worrying about learning loss, we need to be worrying about mental health. Suicide rates among students in the past few years have doubled. My moral imperative is the students. Again, I understand what Dr. Liu is saying. However, we need to follow the governor's order. I'm not one that comes to you and talks about a problem without having a solution. I ask that you read what they're doing in Nevada County. I've run the numbers, and if we start by only looking at the districts that are in person currently in both Yuba and Sutter counties, we need approximately 1,500 vaccines to give the first dose. We can administer them ourselves. We'd already had plans for that. We do not need anything other than the vaccines. I'm asking that the county supervisors work with Dr. Liu and the county superintendents to secure vaccines for our educators that are in school and in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the board this morning? It looks like Mr. Gunsler would like to speak.
Sorry, I don't seem to have the raise hand function on my Zoom. I'll have to work on that. I'm not going to take much of your time. I'm just going to reiterate what Nicole Newman has just spoken to. We were told 3 weeks ago to set up our school districts for vaccinations. We did that. We did surveys. We got everybody lined up. We even picked priority order for those on our campuses. Then we moved to last week where the governor apparently changed tune and said now 65-year-olds are the priority and educators are not. We were not happy with that, unfortunately, but Dr. Liu made a point that she needs to follow the guidance of the state, which we can't argue that fact since we're all guided by the state. And then this week we got great news when Newsom said they've changed again, which is not unusual for this time of year, but they've changed again, and now we want to make sure that the educators are vaccinated alongside the 65-year-olds. So we all expected to attend the meeting yesterday with happy news to say that we're going to get our staff lined up, understanding that there is a limit on the number of vaccines and it's not going to happen overnight, but that we would be able to at least get them started, only to find out that at this particular time, the county health department's choosing not to follow the guidance of the state, that's what my problem is. My problem is you can't pick and choose when you're going to follow that best suits somebody's agenda. So we are just asking that the guidance be followed and that educators are able to jump in line right alongside 65-year-olds, food and ag, and all the other ones listed in Tier 1B. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It looks like We have another person with their hand raised.
Mr. Bros, there you go.
There you go. Thank you. Hi, I'm Patrick Rose, Superintendent, Camptonville Union Elementary School District. And I'm not going to repeat what both Nicole and Craig have said. They've done so eloquently, and you'll find my name on Nicole's letter as well. You know, I want to speak specifically to Camptonville and the northeast region of Yuba County, which often gets ignored for things. And, you know, we are a small mountain community up here. And frankly, this has paralyzed our community. And we have dutifully gone about following the state's directives, following Dr. Liu's directives, following her recommendations for when to keep school open, when to keep it closed. What happens up here is because it's such a small community spread over a large region, our families are stuck. They have no other option. The school is the hub to that community. The school is the hub to Camptonville. It is the only place in Camptonville where people can receive services, receive support, and for us to not be operational is devastating this community, and is very quickly eroding the trust that our families have in their county. And in saying that, in order for us to comfortably reopen, it takes 10 vaccines, 10 doses to do so. I don't have a large staff. I have a very small one. And we are an example of a school that in one day could be vaccinated and reopen our entire region up here safely and comfortably in such a way that I can continue to provide additional support, not just to our students, but also the community members by reopening our community partnership programs and providing the outreach through them. So that's the view from up here on the Hill. I wanted to share that. And again, I support Nicole and Craig. We're just asking that education not be left out in the process when Gavin Newsom has already very specifically said we should be included. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bros. Any other public comment? I do not see any Zoom hands raised or any physical hands raised. Do you, Rochelle or Mary? Okay. So with that, we will move on to county departments. Thank you again for to all the individuals who came and addressed the board today with your concerns.
Through the chair, if I may, Supervisor Bradford, a quick comment. And I can only speak for me, but I think pretty clear this has been a topic that's been on the minds of the entire board for at least the last year. I understand it. I get it. I've got grandkids. I've got kids. I've seen it. I know the importance. I think we all know that importance. And we would love to be able to do certain things. There is one thing you could probably do for us that would be very valuable. You may want to consider approaching the governor for allocations of the vaccine to the Yuba-Sutter area. That would be most helpful. If there's anything you can do similar to today to the governor's office, I'm telling you, we would appreciate it. So just kind of keep that in mind. We are very sympathetic with this. We do understand it. We do get it. Thank you for coming today.
Any other board comments before we move on? Okay, we will move on to the two items that were pulled from the consent agenda. First, 653-2020, Board of Supervisors adopt resolution proclaiming continued local emergency regarding proliferation of illegal cannabis. Are there any comments from the board? Any comments from the public on this item?
Move to approve.
Okay. I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
No.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item 22-2021, Emergency Services adopt resolution proclaiming the existence of an ongoing emergency in the county of Yuba due to tree mortality. Any board comments?
So through the chair, one quick comment in all of this. If you go back in our reasoning of putting this on the agenda some years ago, and I had requested this with OES, there was a tsunami of dead trees from the southern part of the state through the Sierras that were moving in our direction due to the drought and the bark beetle. It was clear that we needed to make a stand looking for potential funding through the governor's office. And I can tell you that at the moment, because of the amount of rain and the conditions are actually better today. It isn't that we have dead and dying trees. Today, we just have a forest management issue that's huge for Yuba County, the Sierras. We're in the midst of, as you've obviously seen over the last few years, lots of fires. I'm not opposed to removing this piece from the agenda. It can also come back as needed, but at the moment, most of the dead, dying trees are south of El Dorado County. And so this mortality is not a big issue today. And if it were to surface again, we could bring it back as an issue. So that would be my comment.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Any other board member comments or any comments from the public? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve it, or potentially, I guess we could do a motion to remove it from the agenda in the future as well.
Or it could die with lack of a second.
That's correct. Yep. Okay. Hearing no first and hearing no second, it dies. So thank you for your comment, Supervisor Fletcher. We will move on to the county department's portion of the agenda. Item 19, 2021, District Attorney authorize the advanced index rate of hire of Caitlin Smith for the position of Deputy District Attorney 3 at the advanced rate of 1.2.
Thank you, Chair and Board. This is necessary just to bring across a lateral. We don't get opportunities very often to bring someone in with experience and to match current salary. This is what we need to do. I'll take any questions.
Questions from the board?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a first.
Second.
And a second. Any public comment on this item? Okay, not seeing any public comment. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez? Supervisor Vasquez? I believe.
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to 08, 2020, approve professional services agreement with Pride Asset Protection for unarmed security guard services at multiple county facilities and authorize chair to execute. So, Perminder, I'm guessing this would be you.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Perminder Baines with the Administrative Services Department. I'm here to recommend the board approve the professional services agreement and authorize the chair to execute the agreement between Yuba County and Pride Asset Protection.
Through the chair, Perminder, can you turn your volume up a little bit? I'm a little hard of hearing.
Let me just get closer to the mic here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Better.
Our current contract is going to expire January 31st, 2021. Back in, I believe it was July 2020, we went out to RFP. We had 14 vendors submit a proposal. We scored it and we ranked it, and I came to the board for direction. The board's directed me to select Pride Asset Protection and prepare a contract with Pride. After the board's decision, a vendor protested the award, and I responded to the protest. The vendor had an opportunity to appeal to the board, and they did not. The protest has expired and has been resolved. And now I'm bringing this agreement to the board today. Pride Asset Protection has signed the agreement, and I recommend the board authorize the chair to execute the agreement.
Through the chair, Perminder, was this delay caused by a lack of communications between the two involved people, and aren't they both somewhat related by business?
Originally, one owner owned both properties, or businesses, sorry. One owner owned both businesses, and a new owner purchased it. So
Okay, this wasn't because of something we did. It was a lack of cooperation between the two.
Not that I'm aware of it. We received a protest, and we have to resolve the protest, and now we're bringing the contract to the board.
If I may, just to provide some guidance here, the issue before the board today is whether this contract substantially conforms to the response to the RFP, the proposal submitted by Pride. Once the board made the decision to award to Pride Industries, the issues raised in the protest go away. The protest was not pursued, it's over. So today, the question before the board really is whether this contract substantially conforms or whether grounds for rescission of the contract would exist. Based upon staff's review, there is no evidence of fraud. There is no evidence of unilateral mutual mistake regarding the contract, and the contract terms are in substantial conformance to the proposal that was made. So I just want to clarify the issue before the board because you did have that, I won't say unique, but you did have the protest, but again, that has been resolved.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Okay.
So with that in mind, through the chair, this is a motion to approve. Is that correct? That will move this forward?
It's my understanding.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Can I have a first? Do I have a second? I'll make a second. Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item 27, County Administrator, receive information on Yuba County's existing strategic plan and take action as appropriate.
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, County Administrator. So the item before you today, I'm gonna give the board a little history on it, and then let the board know that it's an item that I think we'll be talking about it throughout the year, and it's something I just wanted to. I figured we'd start the year off by talking about what had been planned in the past, and then we can look to the future for 2021, and hopefully this exercise will help us focus on some goal setting for 2021 and be able to have the board help provide policy direction to myself and our county department heads as we prepare future budgets so that we can realize those goals. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I have a brief PowerPoint presentation. All right. Let's see here. Hopefully a person holding a potted plant is in front of you now. All right. So by way of background, Yuba County created its first strategic plan back in 2009. Now, when you think of a plan, you instantly think of a large binder of information that you stick on a shelf somewhere. Well, that was what we were trying not to do back in 2009 with our strategic plan. So the idea was the KISS method, keep it simple. I won't, I'll stop there. So anyways, something that people can remember and refer to, and it's actually a little pamphlet that we provide to each new county employee as part of their introduction to county employment. So just by way of background, this process, when the county put together its first strategic plan, there was a wide variety of people involved in it. We wanted all levels of staff at the county to provide input. And that played out between 2008 and then in 2009 when the plan, which essentially was a resolution that was attached to my staff report that the board adopted in 2009. So that there was kind of 4 cornerstones of the county's plan, which included a vision, guiding principles, commitment statement, and strategic priorities. Now, I'm going to go over each one of those, starting with the vision. So the vision, and the reason why I want to talk about basically all of these pieces is to make sure, and we'll get to this at the end here, but make sure the vision that we adopted back in 2009 to see whether or not it still resonates in 2021 or whether adjustments are needed, and for the other 4 areas as well. So the vision, to create a golden future for Yuba County by inspiring a community of participation, embracing our unique history, and discovering the wealth of our untapped potential. So that was the vision in 2009, and we can have a discussion about whether this is still a relevant vision for our Yuba County government as we move forward in 2021. And then a statement of commitment that was another kind of cornerstone of the plan. That we are committed to providing responsive, innovative, and sustainable services that enhance the quality of life and uphold the public trust and interest. And so that was our commitment statement that we came up with in 2009. And again, we can talk through whether that still resonates today. And then guiding principles. So in 2009, it basically came down to kind of four focused words or areas: innovation, trustworthiness, professionalism, and financial responsibility. And so obviously there's kind of subsets of that. Like, for example, in innovation, as an organization, are we being progressive in how we approach things? Are we being creative? Those were the kind of things we were thinking about as an innovative organization. Trustworthy, things like, are we being open and honest as an organization, as we deal with the public, and being fair? Professionalism, are we being ethical in our approach and providing valuable services? And then, financial responsibility. Are we being sound fiscally in how we manage the organization? So those were kind of the 4 principles that were put together. And then the priorities. And I think this is where we'll have the most conversation if we're comfortable with the vision, commitment statement, and guiding principles, because the strategic priorities areas in 2009 were focused in kind of 4 core areas that I'll get to here in a second. And it's just whether or not, is it still those 4 or are adjustments needed? And then what are some action items related to these 4 areas? So our priority areas that we established in 2009 were, one was for public safety and health. Another area was responsible growth. Another area was economic development. And then the 4th area was organizational excellence. And so in the public safety area, focusing on goals that provide, a safe and healthy environment for folks, and supporting our law enforcement. Flood control was a very hot topic in 2009. Trilla was in its early stages to make sure that we had and it's frankly, flood control is still front and center as a Yuba County priority, I believe, but it's something that we should talk through. Responsible growth, At the time, the county was in the process of updating its general plan, which was adopted in 2011. And so there was areas in our general plan that we talked through. There was a focus of trying to achieve that jobs housing balance, which we're still striving towards. To balance new residents with new job opportunities. And then economic development was another area where, and it's again doubling down on that focus on jobs to balance out the new housing that we're seeing in Yuba County. And then organizational excellence, and this is something that as an organization, where we've definitely been focusing over the years to be the employer of choice in Yuba County. So these were the priority areas back in 2009, and these are areas that have continued on. We haven't really superseded that resolution the board adopted in 2009. So that's been in effect, and it's something, and it's a tool that's been used by the departments and the county administrator over the years to help focus the investment each year as part of the budget process. Where are we going to invest our time and resources as an organization to achieve these priority areas? So, and this is something we don't need to answer today. It's just something I'd like to have that question out there for the board members to kind of marinate on, and we can definitely talk through it today and talk through it at future board meetings if needed. And that's from the Supervisor Vasquez. Did you have a question, or were you?
Well, it's just a statement that, for the past 11 years, this has been used to create a work-friendly environment and professionalism within the county employees. And I don't see any reason to change any of that, because it kind of sets the bar pretty high. And those are just good rules of conduct, and that's what we expect from the employees of Yuba County and from the janitor to you. It's worked very well, and there's a lot of pride in our community because of these guidelines.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. So that's something for each of the board members. Definitely want to hear how you feel about that vision, commitment statement, and guiding principles. And then that's kind of a first question. And then the second question revolves around those strategic priorities and those 4 focus areas, and whether or not any adjustments are needed there. And those the strategic priority areas will help focus the conversation as we set goals to achieve in 2021 and future years as well. So with that, I think I will end my slideshow. And
before you end it, you actually go back to the previous. I know it might be a little late now.
Oh, no problem.
It's not really a pie chart, but with the 4 strategic priorities.
Yes.
I know this discussion will, probably work best when we can be in person and have a whiteboard and
right.
and do a a workshop on it. But just a few comments that I have, and then I'm sure other board members probably have some comments as well. And again, we can hash the details out later. Personally, I think these 4 high-level strategic priorities, in my mind, they're still absolutely appropriate. And I think they really, I'm in 100% agreement with them. We might consider changing economic development to economic prosperity. But I know the concepts there are really the same. And in some of the individual things listed in those areas, maybe under responsible growth, we might have something related to, growing within the valley growth boundary to preserve agriculture. An item like that might be very beneficial. And then under economic prosperity, I'd really like to see an item related to, infrastructure that fosters economic development and growth. So really related to transportation and water and wastewater and some of those things that we're working with partners on. So those would just be my high level comments for when we maybe come back and revisit. So do other board members have some comments on this that you can make today?
Through the chair, one of the comments that I would make, over the last 6 years, Kevin, I really like this layout that was created before my time. And I've used this, and I do believe that the county has been pretty successful in making changes, focusing in these issues. It helps the board, it helps staff, and it also explains to the public, I think, where we're headed. We have 2 new board members. I really want to hear their input. This is really a workshop. I'm sure we could spend a better part of a day defining some of these issues. We had some pretty good opinions a few years ago. I can tell you, and as you well know, and the public, we made some major changes, and we actually created a better environment within the county. I'm very proud of the county and what they've done, the employees, their attitudes. Things have come a long ways in the last 6 years. So I would certainly take the opportunity to create a workshop, whether in person or even online. I'm okay with the Zoom, and have this discussion in depth per line. So I think it's a great starting point for the current board and new board to really ask and go into some depth of some of the meanings that you have here. Gold standard doesn't mean a lot until what does that really mean? So I think it'd be good to have that workshop. If you could set that up within the next 30 to 60 days, I think it'd be of value to move forward on.
It works for me. Any additional comments from supervisors?
I have one. I'm not sure, maybe it would be under economic development, but I like to see a strengthening of the relationships between the county and the other entities such as Wheatland and Marysville, whether it's liaison meetings or whatever it takes.
That's a great idea, Supervisor Blazer. I think multiple places that could go. I know in my mind, it seems to fit under organizational excellence.
Yeah.
I suppose my question is do we have data to see how performance has been? Anecdotally, people can feel good about how things are working out, but has there been economic independence achieved? Has there been increased educational opportunities? Is walkable community something that has increased? So going through the various bullet points, have those things changed because of and since this was instantiated? I'd be curious to see what those numbers are.
And Kevin, I would just add to that, in some cases, I know, specific numerical metrics may be hard to come by for some of these items, but certainly in our workshop, I think it'd be very appropriate to hear, this is what's improved since 2009 with respect to this particular item, right? And if there's numbers that can go along with that, that's great. And if not, a good description of what the change has been.
Through the chair. With this COVID stuff, I'll use that word, we no longer have employee appreciation lunches, which was a yearly experience. And I don't think you could really tell how this affects people, these standards, until you actually get one-on-one with the sheriff department cooking the barbecue and getting smoked, I guess. But the people one-on-one, it's an attitude. It's not something you can quantify with X number of numbers of different attitudes, but the feeling of Yuba County as a great place to work and very effective with what we got. I think our original in 2009 was we do so much with so little, we can do pretty much everything with nothing. And that attitude, you can't buy. you can't buy what we've got here in Yuba County. And I think that's all due to our high level priorities. Now, I've got a thing for supervisor goals for 2021, which we'll talk about later, but I really appreciate the effort it took to come up with this priorities and strategic plan guidelines. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, no, let's wait for public comment and then I'll wrap up.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay. Hearing none. Back to you, Kevin.
Well, board members, thank you very much. This is exactly the kind of input I wanted and needed, and I think for our department heads as well that are on the Zoom, and I'll definitely be sharing with them. And as far as next steps, definitely a workshop in the near future. A great idea, and I love the suggestion about before we get to goal setting, we really should review what we've achieved to date, so that way, you know, are there still priority areas where, although we've been striving for it since 2009, do we still have work to do in those areas, or are some of them areas where we feel like we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish and we can focus in other areas? So definitely need to, I'll pull that together for the board when we do that workshop. So thank you very much for this, and you'll be hearing from me soon on the next steps.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Next, we have item 38, 2021, Board of Supervisors, approve letters of support on behalf of rural county representatives of California regarding the proposed wildfire and forest resilience expenditure plan and authorize chair to execute. So Supervisor Fletcher, do you have an introduction maybe on this?
I do, just a few comments. The governor's proposed wildfire and forest resilience expenditure plan, if passed by the legislature, would allocate a total of $1 billion to the forest health and wildfire prevention programs. The expenditure plan will fund such items as the home hardening retrofits and provide grants to communities for fuels treatment projects. Additionally, the plan will allow the state's forest health agencies to continue working with federal land managers to minimize the threat of wildfire to national forest lands. I would recommend that we support this expenditure. One of the parts that isn't written in your documents, and they're all in front of you, has to do with the insurance piece of this puzzle. Huge impact on our communities, not just in Yuba County, but throughout California in the forest areas. And let me tell you, that hits everyone's bottom line. So all of this affects is a piece of this legislative act. So again, I would certainly support it and recommend the board support it.
Okay, is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Any additional public comment or any public comment on this item? Okay. Hearing none, any additional board comment or questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now moving on to item 32, 2021, Board of Supervisors adopt resolution supporting healthy communities. So I will actually do the introduction on this one. Back on October 29th, Assemblyman Gallagher, as well as Assemblyman Kiley and Assemblywoman Dolly, in addition to Senators Nielsen and Dolly, organized a meeting for North State County Supervisors in their districts and requested that a supervisor attend from each county to discuss the challenges that each county was facing with respect to COVID-19 and discuss maybe some things that could be agreed upon by those counties that should be done. One of the things that came out of that conference or that meeting was a healthy community resolution that it was requested that each representing supervisor would take back to their county board for consideration, and each county could modify it kind of according to their needs. And so that is what is before the board this morning. There are essentially three main key items on this resolution that we're considering. One is essentially we are essentially communicating to the state how important we believe local control is with respect to COVID-19, the ability to make our own decisions. We are communicating how important we believe that opening schools safely and providing in-school or in-classroom in-person instruction to the greatest extent possible is important. And also that our county requests a consistent and transparent vaccination distribution from the state of California with clear and accurate public messaging on availability and assistance from the state. So those are the kind of the three items, that main items that are in this resolution. And with that, any board comment or questions?
To the chair. Item number 2 is decisions affecting the health and well-being of our constituents must be based on empirical evidence. The statistics provided by the state to the general public should begin with in a land far, far away. I don't feel they're accurate. The comorbidity factor in deaths has not been addressed, and it just is. We're in the dark. We're mushrooms, and so, but that's my opinion about the statistics that I've been given on this. I'll leave it at that because I probably am the one voice in the wilderness.
Any other comments from board members? Okay, I will.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, have a first and a second. Any public comment on this item before we move forward? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, board. Next, moving on to correspondence. It is as listed on the agenda. And from there, we will move into board and staff member reports. And we will start with Supervisor Vasquez.
Okay. We had the strategic planning, which was a high level guide for our county. And Supervisor Fletcher sent me a Yuba County Board of Supervisors 2021 goals, which I really appreciate. Thank you very much, Randy. But it says, look to the future to help the community thrive and be safer. This is a lower level look. Fire protection in the upper foothills, better insurance coverage, healthier forests, quality water for rural communities, and better water flow for domestic and agricultural use. Improved economic development, broadband countywide, improved flood control, and improved roadway safety throughout the county. There's a bright future in Yuba County for those willing to work hard and persevere through the difficult and challenging times. I've sent copies to the board, and I really would love for them to add their district to this comment, because I think we owe the people of Yuba County a low-level look on what we feel is needed in each and every district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Supervisor Blazer.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yeah, I had a thought about state of emergencies that I'd like to share. It seems to me that the idea of an emergency is something that's sudden and unexpected, and it's something that should be resolved in a relatively quick manner. And if state of emergencies persist indefinitely, that is problematic. And so years is not appropriate for a state of emergency to continue, which is why they have to get renewed every 60 days under the assumption that an emergency has ceased and it is no longer an emergency. It may be a chronic problem, it may be an issue that needs to be worked on, but it's no longer an emergency and no longer appropriate as a state of emergency. So I think that it would be good to review our state of emergencies that we have in Yuba County a little more thoroughly and see if we need to continue them when they were declared years ago.
Thank you, Supervisor. Maybe I could request that the next time we renew these emergencies, that they be put on the regular agenda and that staff give a brief presentation about what their recommendation is related to the particular state of emergency and why. Would that be all right, Kevin? Okay, great. Thank you. So Supervisor Fletcher.
So I would like to allocate some of my time to Supervisor Bradford, who has a list and will be working on, but I also would like to close the meeting today on behalf of Martin Gerbosi.
Council, any comments?
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay. Kevin, anything else from you?
No, other than the resolution on healthy communities seemed quite timely considering the public comments today.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that.
That wasn't a performance. We didn't time that. It just happened to play out that way. Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Rochelle and Mary, any comments from either of you?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to be quite as brief. So thank you, Supervisor Fletcher, for yielding your time to me. One thing we wanted to talk about real quick today under board comments are ad hoc committees. And in particular, for our two new supervisors, maybe just a little background on this, as well as discussion about some recent ad hoc committees and what they accomplished. So the board typically establishes ad hoc committees, or I should say the chair establishes an ad hoc committee. Usually it has two members of the Board of Supervisors to kind of work on a particular issue that has come before the board, and then report back to the board based on their findings or based on a certain thing that has been accomplished. We typically sunset any ad hoc committees at the end of the calendar year. And then if they're still needed, we need to talk about them. And then the chair can reestablish them with some, kind of some specific closures in mind. We, of course, need to be careful to not have ad hoc committees go on and on and on, because then they're really standing committees. And so that is one of the reasons why they automatically sunset. And if they're still needed, we have to discuss them. So we're going to briefly go through the ad hoc committees from 2020 as well as 2019, which are now all officially sunset. And I do have a few recommendations on a couple that we will reestablish for 2021, but most of them are sunset. So starting with that, these are the 2020 ad hoc committees, and we had one to review memberships in CSAC and RCRC. There was some concern that maybe we were not getting enough value out of our membership in those two organizations. And so Supervisor Fletcher and I were tasked to look into that and report back to the board. With respect to CSAC, I believe we are getting value from that organization. It certainly could be said that maybe not every single thing that we want accomplished at the state level, they're able to advocate for or accomplish on our behalf. But still, there are many things that they do. And I think our membership in that organization is very valuable. And so the recommendation was to continue that membership. And then with that, I will let Randy talk about RCRC briefly.
In the RCRC review, it's pretty clear that as a spinoff of CSAC, the RCRC really focuses on the rural counties, and certainly there is a need in specific areas that we all are attached to. So what we came to the same conclusion, even though we don't always agree on some of the agendas around the table of the counties, still very valuable to keep the organizational function, that you bring ideas to your representative, who then pass them on to the full board. Staff at RCRC, they are diehard little bunnies. They work very diligent. I am very pleased with them. And one of them obviously is tied to the forest management, the insurance, and our water. Those are big items for Yuba County throughout California as well. So yes, I'm very supportive to that, and that's what we found. Thank you.
Thanks, Supervisor Fletcher. Next was review boards, committees, commissions, and appointments. And the primary focus of this ad hoc committee was really to look at the Historic Resources Commission and the enabling ordinance, or the ordinance that defines the membership in that. And Supervisor Fletcher and I did meet and did make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors on some changes, and those were adopted, I believe, in the fall of 2020. So there's definitely no need to restart that, and that is the outcome of that committee. So the next one is review allocation of PG&E settlement funds for the new board members. The county did receive some settlement funds related to some wildfires, for which PG&E, was potentially the cause of those. And so Supervisor Fletcher and I were on a committee to work with staff to bring some items before the board on potential expenditures of some of that revenue. There are still additional discussions that need to happen with respect to that revenue and with respect to opportunities surrounding it. So as the chair, I will essentially reestablish this committee for 2021, and I will appoint myself and Supervisor Fletcher again to serve on this committee. And for the other board members, we will be discussing potential opportunities. And then, of course, those would come before the board before any money was allocated. So that's the purpose of that one. The next item on the list from 2020 is the Bi-County Health Officer discussion with Sutter County. And that was Supervisor Lofton and myself. And the point there was really to just open up dialogue between ourselves and Sutter County with respect to the roles and responsibilities of our shared health officer, and really make sure that everyone was on the same page. I believe those discussions were very fruitful, and so there is not currently a need for this committee to continue into 2021. So those were the committees from 2020. Now we're going to go way back to some of the committees that had been established in 2019, which of course sunset at the end of that year, but really just wanted to give a report in case it didn't always happen, so that our new board members in particular are aware of what happened with these committees. So the first one is explore and discuss broadband issues, and that was Supervisor Bradford and Fletcher. And this is certainly continuing at this point in time. And so there is a need to reestablish this committee at the beginning of 2021. And I will appoint both myself and Supervisor Fletcher once again to this committee, given we probably have the two districts that are most broadband challenged in the county. And so the goal of this, some of the things that we've been working on this committee, working with staff and the board, actually, it has come before the board, to hire a project manager for broadband in Yuba County. So that is, I believe the recruitment for that is out right now. And we are working with Valley Vision on a strategic plan for broadband. So until the project manager is on board and the strategic plan is completed, I believe there's still a need for this committee. And at that time, I envision this committee will be going away once those items are completed. So Supervisor Fletcher, do you have anything else to add to that committee discussion?
No, you've covered it very well. The two items that we are obviously concerned with is educational. If you don't have good broadband, then you have an education problem. So the foothills, it's critical that we move in that direction. And for safety purposes, same thing. it's all part of the future of any county in the state of California. We have got to come up to speed on this. So that's where we're headed.
And just for the other board members, I will also comment that in addition to availability, the committee and the strategic report also do talk about things related to access with respect to affordability, so adoption, right? So do we have places in the county where there might be broadband available, but it's really not at a place where our residents are able to get it? And so that's part of the discussion as well. So the next item, health officer recruitment and review. Clearly we have a health officer, and it was Dr. Lou. And so clearly, that committee is finished with their work and does not need to be reestablished. And then moving on to, there was an ad hoc committee for a senior center, which had Supervisor Vasquez and Supervisor Leahy. And I'll just ask Supervisor Vasquez to give a brief update on the results of that committee's actions.
Well, I've been involved with the senior center since '09, when we had the old hospital still out forwards now. And they're an interesting group in that, you not only have to fight for something for them to do, you have to fight them to get the Hatfields and McCoys together on those things, because they're pretty feisty little group. And I think they've been able to manage to form groups since I last got involved, because it was really a pretty contentious group there, and I think they've managed to solve a lot of their problems by themselves and working with smaller groups. And so there was nothing more that we could do. We didn't have the resources to be able to build a center for them. So the last center that I was at was on, Olivehurst Avenue in Olivehurst. And they just flat take over any building that they're in, and they were happy there, and I'm sure they're happy doing what they are doing right now. But I don't see any positive reason to keep an ad hoc committee on the senior group. I think they're doing very well.
Great, thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. So the next committee on the list from 2019 was the Marysville Traffic Plan, and Supervisors Fletcher and Leahy were on that. Supervisor Fletcher, I don't know if you have any comments or updates from that.
Now, just a quick comment that we did have several meetings with Caltrans, encouraged them to support Marysville, create a plan that blends well with the Highway 70 project, moving traffic through town. It's a challenge, but that is their responsibility. We encourage that they meet with Marysville and really focus on getting things accomplished. At this point, hopefully, Supervisor Blazer, you'll be right on top of that. So I have a great deal of faith in you.
Yeah, we're all over it.
Yeah, so no need to have a committee at this time, but Supervisor Blazer, if you believe that becomes a need in the future to have an ad hoc committee to talk about that, certainly bring it before the board.
Well, it certainly seems to be coming to a head. There's 2 lawsuits, filed against Caltrans. I talked to Gallagher yesterday. He's going to try to talk to Caltrans. It's going to be ongoing.
Thank you. Okay, we're almost done here. So the next one is insurance challenges to Foothill residents, and that was Supervisors Fletcher and Lofton. Supervisor Fletcher, if you have any comments on that.
Unfortunately, I'd like to tell you we resolved it and everything is perfect. And the reality is this is going to be an ongoing issue. However, it laps into the forest management piece of the puzzle. The insurance is just, again, a piece of that. And of course, for the next few years, I can tell you I'll be in depth in this stuff, working through RCRC, the legislature, and locally on the ground, trying to make a difference. I think it becomes a bit of my responsibility to do that because the biggest issue is in the 5th district. So at this point, I don't know that it warrants any committee. It just warrants a great deal of work to keep on track, to keep focusing on this, to do all I can, and with other supervisors within RCRC to do the same.
Great, thank you. The next item on the list, we only have 2 left, just so everyone knows, is pension liability reduction plan. And that was Supervisors Bradford and Fletcher. And I'm happy to report that the committee worked with staff to discuss multiple recommendations on things the county could do to help with our unfunded liability with respect to CalPERS. And I'll discuss what some of those items were in a moment, but all of those items were brought before the board and adopted by the board, so they are in place. And there is no need for this committee at this point in time. Again, not that this issue has gone away, but the short-term look into some potential solutions was completed. So first of all, one of the things we did is increase the percentage that departments pay toward CalPERS liability. So with each position they have a small increase that they pay on top of what is required by CalPERS. And then in addition to that, we have a separate investment pool that the county puts money in kind of to help save money to deal with the unfunded liability issue as well. And I know I didn't probably provide super specific details on those, but if the new board members are interested in what exactly those 2 items are, I would encourage you to reach out to Kevin, and he can put you in touch with staff that can give you all the specific details of what exactly I provided a super high level description of right then. And so then the final one on the list here is homeless camps on the water side of the levees and associated issues. And that was were Supervisors Leahy and Vasquez. And so I will let Supervisor Vasquez comment on that real quick.
Well, the homeless situation, I had some pictures and I forgot to bring them of what I call the stairway to heaven. And what it was doing was they built the stairway. One of the things that I did was I was in the homeless consortium for 2 meetings, and we decided that we needed to give them hope, the homeless hope. And number 2 was to require them some change in their behavioral patterns because of the 2 biggest causes of homeless in the area, which is drugs and alcohol. And the hope we could give them a little bit, and but nobody wanted to change, so we didn't do that. I also rode along with code enforcement down the river bottoms, and that's where I first saw the stairway to heaven. Those levees back in the day were silt, and when you start building a staircase into it, you looked at it, and right next to it, there's a sheer wall of silt that during the last high tide, and they dug one hole, I think that was 11 feet deep and 5 feet wide in the river bottoms, which fire department creates problems for them, the sheriff's department. Among other things, we got into a lawsuit with the homeless, and that pretty much ended all future communications with the homeless because they had their own agenda, which was to get the county to support them. And I'm not. My position is there's reasons for being homeless, and we work out. I have a 31-page booklet on services that are available in the county, and they didn't take kindly to those flyers versus somebody else giving them money. And I pretty much, we had to step back because of the liability and the lawsuits and things that we had no control over. So they're pretty much on their own now. So And while I got you, I'm going to talk about the broadband aspect. And Gary, in 2010, I interviewed the vice president of Comcast twice about the program that is in, and I don't know whether you know about this or not, but our countywide, all of our schools, all the students there qualify for a $10 a month charge for Comcast. And I had brochures and I went to schools, and the problem we have is that there's no initiative for the people to even take them and fill them out. They just, I have no idea what they want, but those are possibilities that are available. If Comcast service is available, any school within Yuba County qualifies for a $10 a month hookup to Comcast. So it might save you a little extra work, and you can catch the low-hanging fruit. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Okay, with that, we are going to move on to closed session, threat to public services or facilities. And so I will request that the appropriate people get moved into the breakout room for that. And then once you are in there, we are going to take a 10-minute break. So we will come back at, we'll say 10:57. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Show you how. Live streaming can be simple and not expensive. You may already have the basic tools right in your hand. But it's more than just pushing live to communicate effectively. That's where Yuba-Sutter.live and Live Streaming YS on Facebook can help you. Make it easy to jump in. Just give us a call at 530-301-2931 or visit our website, www.yuba-sutter.live. Yuba-Sutter's home of live streaming and live streaming tools, live streaming services, technology, and training. Live streaming is Yuba-Sutter.live.